It was an appalling return from the international break, with the FPL gods serving up a game week where almost 1 million managers threw the wildcards on the table, when we all thought big points were guaranteed. And yet instead of partying in the 100 club, we've all found out that our names aren't down and we're not coming in, leaving us nursing a hubris hangover with our expectations for the season both shaken and stirred. I spent Sunday kiboshed on the toilet with a tummy bug, which meant the only throne this would-be FPL king was sat on was a porcelain one. Yet the evacuations from my bowels were nothing compared to the drizzling shits served up by the FPL gods. You only have to look at the team of the week. If you take out Watkins and Haaland, only Gabriel had an ownership percentage in the double figures. The rest, you just couldn't make it up. 2 Man United defenders the game week after a thrashing. 1 Nottingham Forest defender away at Liverpool. 7 players with an ownership lower than 5%. 3 defensive players who conceded a penalty. 2 holding midfielders. Dwight McNeil. Even though we know these game weeks are coming, they always have a habit of catching you by surprise. And yet, of the 940,000 managers who played the wildcard, including 4 of the gentlemen, you just know many of them will be cursing the luck. They'll be out there saying these outcomes couldn't have been predicted, that their reasoning was sound even if the results were not, that variance and luck just weren't on their side. And all I can say to those people is, you should have listened. Even though you're my rivals, I tried to help you. I told you point blank the Game Week 4 wildcard was a mistake. How many of you wish you hadn't played it now? I feel so bad. If only I'd edited last week's video a little bit quicker, I could have saved you from yourselves. Still, I doubt many of you would have listened. You would have dismissed me as a crank, some gobshite wannabe trying to make a name for himself at the expense of the so-called FPL experts. And that's fine. Tell yourself it was just bad luck if that makes you feel better. I'm here to win this blasted game, and the more of you that throw your seasons away, the better. The problem is, I'm the sort of person that needs to feel that I've tried to help you, and I just know that in Game Week 6 so many of you are already planning to throw those wildcards away as well. You're gonna hit that button and throw away your strongest weapon just to bring in a few players with 2 or 3 good fixtures. I should just let you do it and increase my own chances of glory, but I am a gentleman, and the gentlemanly ways dictate that I play this game with honour, so I'm going to help you. And this time, I'm telling you the game week before you press that button so you can have no excuses. This is the fact. The only people that should be wildcarding in Game Week 6 are those silly sausages who still aren't harnessing the power of the Norse force. If you have Haaland in your ranks and you're planning a Game Week 6 wildcard, it's time to give your head a wobble. You already own the greatest asset in the game, and your wildcard should be about maximising his impact. If you don't activate in Game Week 6 and then he gets injured in Game Week 7, you can sell him knowing you can wildcard him back in whenever he's fit again, while almost 1 million people will have to make multiple transfers. That is power. A power that so many of your rivals have just thrown away. Why on earth would you make the same mistake? If you want to win this game, do not activate your wildcard in Game Week 6. It's that simple. Unless, of course, you don't have Haaland, in which case you should do whatever it takes to get him in. Me, I just don't understand how people still don't get it. You've got Grinch who got our worst score of the game week, and Jock and Jeeves, who got the second lowest. Both of them are highly skilled players, yet they're as stubborn as mules, and it's cost them big time, with Captain Haaland single-handedly outscoring their entire teams. Then you've got Red Hot Rob, all those top 100k finishes, yet he keeps dropping in the ranks because he won't correct his mistake. It's like they're trying to prove some sort of stupid point. It's boring when everyone has Haaland. It's just like playing FPL on easy mode. As if there's some sort of virtue in playing badly and doubling down instead of just fixing your error. A 4 or 8 point hit a couple of game weeks ago would have seen all 3 of those gents with an extra half century of points. That hit would have seen Red Hot Rob or Jockin' Jeeves in second place instead of languishing in mid-table. How much longer are you gonna leave it? Sometimes the obvious thing to do is the right thing to do. Just get him in, lads, for my peace of mind. Right, that's enough saving my rival's season. You've all been officially warned and my conscience is clear. Now, with all of that goodwill nonsense out of the way, let's get into what really matters, the quest for glory. Look, I can't lie. Game week 4 was a blow. Within 30 stoppage time seconds, I saw Robinson lose a clean sheet and Eze decline a penalty. That's 9 points right there. Never mind what bonus points they might have scored. And those points would have been huge in such a low scoring game week. And yet, it could have been so much worse. I brought in Joao Pedro, like 1.2 million other managers did, only to see him called up late by Brazil and return home crocked. Yet I had Smooth on the inside, Crunchy on the outside, and Diallo to come off my bench, bringing with him 6 golden points, which is more than a lot of other managers. Likewise, 375,000 people sold Saka, bringing in Salah as his replacement in many cases. Yet Salah only scored 2 points, and the star boy got 7. That gave me an extra 5 points, while also keeping an extra transfer in my back pocket. Yes, it could have been a lot worse, but those slim pickings were as good as it got for me, with my game week summed up by Jota being outscored by Luis Diaz by virtue of the order in which the assistant referee raised the numbers on his little digital notepad. Imagine losing 2 points because your man walked off first. Hey, those FPL gods, they do love their little pranks. And yet, despite the paucity of points, I maintained third place in the League of Gentlemen, and I only lost 4 points worth of ground. Had Luis Diaz left the pitch first, I would have ended the game week exactly as I started it. For a bad game week, it could have been so much worse. Indeed, there are some gentlemen who wish they'd had my bad game week. None more so than Grinchy Rot. He sold Garnacho, 6 points for Eze's 2. He took a hit to bring in Joao Pedro and had no bench cover. He still doesn't own Haaland, and he's just hit the game week's lowest score in the entire division. Every time you think the Grinch has bottomed out, he finds a new depth to sink to. And it's getting to the point where you have to wonder if his ongoing inclusion in these videos can even be justified. But then, I worry if I don't keep him engaged, he'll do what he did a few seasons ago, where he faked a hack and then spent the second half of the season just sabotaging his own team for attention. And we don't want that. And the worst thing is, you look at that squad and you wonder how on earth it's ranked 6 million. The answer, of course, is the exclusion of the Norse force. And as crazy as it seems that one player can have such a damaging impact on FPL, that's the reality we all have to accept this season. More than that, we have to play accordingly. Oh, you can't chase last week's points, they say, and they're right. However, you also shouldn't throw away next week's points just because you're having a tantrum that other people are beating you. And while we're on the matter, we saw an incredible dummy spit in the League of Gentlemen this game week, with former champion dismal David Rudge disappearing into the valleys, never to return. I keep telling you that the unique pressures of the world's greatest mini-league can destroy even the greatest of players. And so we have seen this game week as a gentleman with the highest ever overall ranking in the division's history has fled in humiliation at somehow ending game week 3 ranked behind Snarky Simon. It takes unique strength to keep on fighting in this league, and some people just don't have the minerals. However, while Dismal Dave has quit the league in cowardice, the other former champs keep on fighting. Buoyed by the revelations from Jez Messing last week and infused with a newfound determination to improve his standing, 2013 champ The Ox wildcarded this week and improved his ranking by 5 places. Defending champ Dan Gestoso Cabezas corrected his mistake of not owning Erling Haaland, and that was a move that proved pivotal to his rise in 7 7 places to 17th, moving ahead of the 2-time Asterix champ Jochen Jeeves, a man whose enduring stubbornness saw him post the division's second lowest score. While you have to somewhat admire Jeeves' bullishness, the simple truth is that his current strategy is not one that will lead him to success. Jeeves needs to take inspiration from Iceman Newton, who corrected his own mistake last week with his wildcard and has now risen almost half the division to find himself in 4th place. The Iceman is now ahead of big names such as Ginger Ben and King Ding, who both dropped 5 places, as well as Dan the Dragon and Hilo Hodgson, 2 men who both rose in the ranks this week. It was a huge rise for the Dragon as well, climbing 10 places in the table to find himself just 28 points off top spot. That was a result of a monster 71-point game week, which could have been even more spectacular had he not left the game week's highest scoring player stranded on his bench. For King Ding though, it was a game week of rare mistakes. First in moving early in the transfer market to sign the subsequently injured Joao Pedro, then in taking the gamble on captaining Salah over the Norse force. However, these mistakes spelled danger for the rest of the gentlemen, with these outcomes likely to reinforce the King's belief in his usual tactics that have led him to 4 league titles. Throughout the rest of the division, other notable rank rises include Professor Story, Sirloin Sean, Maverick Mikey, Deadly Daz and Mighty Mouse, while those that joined Jochen Jeeves, Grinch Yvette and Red Hot Rob in the downward spiral include Private Parvesh, Ashton Bash and Hugh Horner, all of who fell several spots in the League of Gentlemen table. However, the least surprising fall in all of the League of Gentlemen is that of Gladiator Glenn, whose bizarre decision to wildcard out the best 2 assets in the game has predictably cost him in double quick time. Not only has he dropped a place in the table, but once again he's been outscored by everyone in the top 8. It's now just a matter of game weeks before he drops out of contention altogether. He's the only manager in the top 16 not to own Haaland. He doesn't even have Salah, and nor does he have a wild card to fall back on. It's a desperate situation, and it's one that John Go-Karting took full advantage of, seeing Erling Haaland outscore 9 of the Gladiators team as Go-Karting leapfrogged him right into top spot. He's established a 9-point lead at the top of the world's greatest mini-league, and it's a full 20 points ahead of his nearest Haaland-owning rival. While it's still early in the season, it's a great position for him to find himself in, especially when his squad is as good as that and he still has all his chips to play. People say that it's too early in the season to apply this much importance to the league table, that these rankings will bear little resemblance to the final positions, yet you can already see the contenders moving into place. For me to regain my crown will take an almighty effort, especially given game week 4 saw all the other former champs, Jeeves excluded, strengthen their position in various ways, while I also lost ground to those gents desperate to add their own name to the League of Gentlemen honour roll. For me to achieve my ultimate aim of becoming the world #1, I'm going to have to play an awful lot better than I have so far, not least in the transfer market, with every single transfer I've made so far proving to be an almighty mistake. Not only have all my transfers been abysmal, I've also used that triple captainship, which many of my rivals have not. Although Ashton Bash's 6-point return from his does go to prove my point about the dangers inherent with that chip. So yes, I'm going to have to nail my 2 free transfers ahead of game week 5, because the pressure is well and truly on, and I'm feeling the heat. So, ahead of game week 5, let me just say, may all your transfers be successes, may all your arrows be green, and may those FPL gods be in your favour. Hit that subscribe button to eject the cowardly Dismal Dave in disgrace, and we will see you next time. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to have to dash off, because all this bass I've put in my voice isn't half playing havoc on these bowels of mine. Back to the porcelain throne!
It's an FPL Nightmare, company pulling out more, yeah. I'm the brightest football manager to ever grace the old armchair, but the FPL gods hate me, and no one's seem to care that my points are only average and my ranking is not fair.